Secrets don't stay buried for long at Heartland. And this week, the past walks straight back into Lisa's life, stirring wounds she thought had healed. At the same time, Amy faces a choice that could end everything she's built with Nathan. One unexpected meeting, one broken promise, and one moment that changes the future of the ranch forever. The morning at the ranch began quietly, too quietly for a place that was usually full of rushing footsteps, whinnying horses, and the comforting rhythm of daily work. Amy noticed the stillness first. She tried to ignore it, but something in the air felt different, heavy, almost warning her of a day she wasn't prepared for. Nathan had promised to stop by early to talk about a decision they had both been avoiding for weeks, and that alone was enough to make her chest tighten. But there was something else hanging in the silence, something she couldn't name yet. Jack had woken up earlier than usual. Amy found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring at an envelope he hadn't opened. His expression was hard to read, but the tension in his shoulders told her that whatever was inside that envelope wasn't good. When she asked about it, he simply shook his head and told her it wasn't worth worrying over. But Amy knew Jack too well. Something was off. And even before the day truly began, she sensed the ranch bracing for impact. Meanwhile, Lisa returned from an early errand, but when she stepped out of her car, the expression on her face was unlike anything Amy had seen in a long time. Lisa wasn't angry, but she wasn't calm either. She looked shaken. She barely managed a smile as Jack walked toward her, and when he asked what was wrong, she hesitated. Just long enough for Amy to realize this wasn't a small problem. This was personal. Lisa finally whispered the name of someone none of them expected to hear again. A name tied to a part of her life she never liked to revisit. A name Amy had only heard in passing, always followed by a sudden shift in the conversation. Lisa's voice trembled, and even Jack went still. Whoever this person was, their sudden return wasn't just surprising. It was painful. Amy felt a chill sweep through her. She watched Jack take Lisa's hands gently, asking if this person had said something, done something, or showed up unannounced. But all Lisa could manage was a quiet, "They're back, and they want to talk." Her eyes glistened, and Amy instantly knew this wasn't an ordinary reunion. This was a ghost from the past stepping into the present, bringing something heavy with them. Before Amy could ask more, she heard footsteps behind her. Nathan. His timing couldn't have been worse. He looked troubled, as though he had been rehearsing difficult words all morning. Amy's stomach tightened again. She wasn't ready for whatever he was about to say, especially now with tension spreading through the family like wildfire. Nathan greeted Jack and Lisa politely, but even he sensed something was wrong. His eyes lingered on Lisa's uneasy expression, then drifted back to Amy, almost as if he wanted to apologize for bringing more weight to an already heavy morning. Amy motioned for him to walk with her toward the barns, needing space, needing air, needing answers. She hoped he hadn't come to say what she feared, but the worry in his eyes said otherwise. As they walked, Nathan cleared his throat the way he always did before telling her something serious. Amy braced herself. But before he could speak, they both stopped at the sound of a distant car pulling up near the ranch house. Amy turned around in time to see Lisa freeze in place, her posture stiffening, her eyes widening just enough to reveal deep hurt buried under years of quiet strength. The door of the unfamiliar car opened slowly, almost cautiously. The moment the figure stepped out, Amy knew. This wasn't a simple visit. This person meant something to Lisa, something painful, something unresolved. The kind of connection that didn't fade with time, no matter how badly someone wished it would. Jack's expression hardened. Amy stepped closer to Nathan without thinking, as though protecting herself from something she didn't even understand yet. The figure approached Lisa, saying her name with a softness that made the air around them tremble. Lisa didn't respond. She didn't have to. The pain in her eyes spoke first. Nathan whispered, "Should we go back inside?" Amy shook her head. Something was unfolding right in front of them, something that would affect not just Lisa, but the entire ranch. She needed to see it. She needed to understand it. Behind her, Nathan sighed, and Amy felt a sudden shift, like he was preparing to say goodbye before she was ready to hear it. Two storms were coming. Lisa's past, and whatever truth Nathan had been holding back, and both were about to collide at Heartland. The ranch felt smaller the moment that familiar stranger stepped onto the property. Even the horses inside the paddock went still, their ears turning toward the tension like they understood the weight of the moment better than any of them. Lisa stood frozen, her breath shallow, her hands pressed tightly against her sides. She hadn't expected to see this person again. Amy could feel it, Jack could see it, and the silence stretching between them made the truth impossible to ignore. When Lisa finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper. Something that carried years of memories she never wanted to revisit. The name she uttered made Jack's jaw clench. He didn't move closer, but he didn't step back either. He stayed still, guarding her with nothing but his presence. Amy watched the way Lisa's eyes flickered between the man in front of her and the ground beneath her feet, as if searching for stability anywhere she could find it. The man apologized first. His voice cracked in a way that suggested regret, but regret didn't erase the hurt Lisa had once carried. His apology wasn't new. It was old, familiar, worn from years of silence and distance. And as he tried to explain why he had returned, Lisa raised a trembling hand, asking him to stop. She didn't want his excuses. She wanted to understand why the past had chosen today, of all days, to come back. Jack finally asked the question everyone else was afraid to say aloud. "What are you doing here?" His tone was calm, but his eyes held a quiet warning, the kind of warning that came from a man who had witnessed too much pain in the people he loved. The stranger hesitated. He looked at Lisa again before answering, and that hesitation told Amy everything. This wasn't about business. This wasn't about a mistake. This was personal. Too personal. Before Lisa could respond, Amy felt Nathan shift beside her. She turned, catching the look on his face. It wasn't jealousy or frustration. It was something heavier. Guilt. A kind that didn't belong to Lisa. Guilt that belonged to him. And suddenly Amy realized he hadn't come to talk about small things. He had come to talk about the one conversation they had both been avoiding. But the moment wasn't theirs anymore. Not yet. Lisa drew in a shaky breath and stepped forward, facing the man she once trusted, the man who had walked out of her life without explanation. She asked him why he had come back. Simple question, heavy answer. He said he needed closure, he needed to fix what he broke. But Lisa didn't flinch. She didn't soften. She didn't crumble. She simply shook her head and told him that closure wasn't a gift he could give himself. Not after so many years, not after walking away and letting her pick up the pieces alone. Amy felt the sting of those words. They echoed her own fears, her own insecurities, and she knew Nathan heard them too. He moved again, this time stepping closer to her as if preparing to stand in that same painful spotlight. Jack placed a steady hand on Lisa's shoulder, not pushing her back, not pulling her away, just grounding her. And for the first time since the man arrived, Lisa allowed herself to exhale, slowly, carefully. The stranger looked down at the ground, defeated in a way that made Amy wonder what kind of history the two of them truly shared. Whatever it wasn't simple. It wasn't clean, it wasn't something a single apology could wipe away. After a long pause, he said something that made the air thicken instantly. He said he wasn't only here for Lisa, he needed to talk to Jack as well. Jack stiffened. Amy felt the shift like a shockwave. Lisa's eyes widened again, this time with confusion instead of pain. Amy didn't understand it yet, but she knew this meant trouble. No one from Lisa's past should have had business with Jack. And if they did, the truth behind it wouldn't be easy. Just then, Nathan finally stepped forward, his voice soft but urgent. "Amy, we really need to talk." Amy turned her attention to him, her heart pounding. She wasn't ready. Not after watching Lisa relive a wound she had tried so hard to bury. But Nathan's expression told her that waiting would only make things worse. He looked into her eyes, searching for a safe place to begin. But before he could speak his first sentence, another unexpected sound cut through the moment. The sharp crack of a gate slamming shut behind the barns. Everyone turned. The horses scattered. The stranger looked startled. Jack's expression darkened instantly. Amy felt it again, the sense that the morning's troubles were only the beginning. Two truths were waiting to be revealed. Lisa's past and Nathan's confession. But something else had just happened on the ranch. Something none of them were prepared for. The moment the gate slammed, a ripple of unease spread across the ranch. Amy felt the vibration of the tension in the air, sharp, immediate, and impossible to ignore. Jack moved first, stepping instinctively toward the noise, his protective instincts rising like a storm gathering strength. Lisa stood frozen again, but this time it was confusion, not fear, that clouded her eyes. The stranger looked between all of them, his brows furrowing as if he recognized the sound, or the trouble it might bring. Amy took a step forward, ready to follow Jack, but Nathan gently caught her wrist. Not forcefully, just enough to keep her from slipping away for another moment. Amy turned back to him, her breath caught between urgency and dread. Nathan's eyes were soft, almost pleading. This wasn't the look of a man preparing to argue. It was the look of a man carrying something too heavy to keep inside. Amy, please, I can't wait anymore. There was a tremble in his voice, one that Amy had never heard before, not even during their worst disagreements. A tremble that told her the truth wasn't just painful, it was dangerous. But before she could answer, a shout echoed from behind the barns. It wasn't Jack's voice, and that made the tension twist even tighter. Amy and Nathan both turned toward the sound, instinct driving them forward, but Nathan stopped her again, shaking his head. Let Jack handle that. What I need to tell you? It's about us, and it's going to hurt. Amy felt her heart twist. She didn't want to hear it, not after the emotional storm Lisa had just been dragged through. But Nathan's expression made it clear. He wasn't walking away after he said it. He was preparing for something final. Before he could speak further, Lisa approached them, her eyes still watery but sharper now. Amy, go with Jack, I'll handle this. She motioned to Nathan, as if she somehow sensed the kind of truth he carried, the kind of truth that needed privacy. Nathan nodded, grateful but visibly nervous. Amy hesitated, torn between fear and responsibility. But when another shout rang out, this one laced with anger, she made her choice. She ran toward the sound, leaving Nathan behind with Lisa. The scene behind the barns was nothing like Amy expected. Jack stood rigid, his stance defensive, his jaw locked tight. In front of him, two ranch hands were trying to calm a horse that had clearly been spooked. But that wasn't the focus. The real shock was the small wooden crate lying on its side in the dirt, its contents spilled out like a secret exposed too early. Amy knelt beside it, recognizing the supplies immediately. These weren't Heartlands, they weren't from any local ranch either. They were tagged with a symbol she hadn't seen in years. One that belonged to a breeder with a reputation for pushing horses too hard, too fast. A past Heartland hoped to never cross again. Jack met her gaze. This was dropped off this morning, unmarked truck, no note. His voice was low, controlled, but Amy knew him well enough to hear the anger beneath. Before she could ask more, the stranger from before appeared beside them. No one had noticed him follow. His eyes landed on the crate, and something changed in his expression. Something heavy, something wary. Jack stepped closer to him, his voice sharp. You know something about this? The man hesitated, then nodded. Lisa's past, Nathan's confession, none of that prepared them for what the stranger said next. He explained that he had been contacted weeks ago by the same breeder whose logo marked the crate. A man with a reputation for cutting corners, mistreating horses, and blaming others when things fell apart. Someone Heartland had once stood up against. The breeder was in trouble again. And this time, Amy's name, Heartland's name, was being dragged into it. Amy felt her pulse spike. Why would he send this here? The stranger swallowed hard. Because he thinks Jack owes him. And he knows Lisa has connections. He wants something, and he'll do anything to get your attention. Jack's expression darkened. I don't owe that man a damn thing. But the stranger shook his head. You do? Whether you meant to or not. Amy stepped back, her chest tightening. Whatever this man knew, whatever he was trying to reveal, it wasn't something simple. It wasn't something they could walk away from. But before he could explain further, Nathan's voice carried across the yard. Amy! He was breathless, desperate, running toward her like he had no choice left. Amy turned, the weight of the moment pulling her in two different directions. Trouble from the past was circling the ranch, and now the future she thought she was building was trembling at its foundation. Nathan stopped in front of her, his breath uneven. his eyes filled with a painful truth. "I can't let this get worse," he said quietly. "You deserve to know before everything else falls apart." Amy stared at him, bracing herself. Nathan finally spoke the words he'd been holding back. The truth that would change everything between them. The truth that could end them, or reveal what had been broken long before. And right as the first sentence left his lips, Jack and the stranger exchanged a look that carried a warning. Things at Heartland were about to get far more complicated than any of them imagined. Nathan stood in front of Amy with the kind of expression that made the rest of the world fade into the background. His breath was uneven, his hands shaking slightly, not from fear of her, but from the weight of the truth he had been carrying for far too long. Amy didn't say a word. She simply nodded once, giving him permission to continue, even though her heart felt heavier with every passing second. Nathan swallowed hard. "I haven't been honest with you about why I came to Heartland in the first place." The words cut through the air like a sudden drop in temperature. Amy felt her chest tighten. She had prepared herself for many possibilities: doubt, insecurity, even distance. "But not this," he continued before she could speak. "When I first arrived, it wasn't just because of the horses, or the job, or even because of you. Someone reached out to me months ago, someone who wanted information on Heartland, on your training methods, on your family. And I—" He paused, his voice cracking. "I didn't know who he was at the time." Amy felt the ground tilt beneath her. "Nathan? Who contacted you?" His answer came out as a whisper. "The same breeder Jack has been dealing with? The one causing trouble now?" Amy's breath caught. For a full moment, she couldn't speak. Nathan looked devastated, forcing himself to continue before she could react. He made it seem harmless, just questions about the ranch, about how you work, about how much influence you have. I didn't give him much, but I answered him. I didn't know what he was planning, but when I realized it, I tried to cut ties. I tried to warn you, but then things between us got complicated and I— He stopped, shaking his head. "I should have told you sooner." Amy stepped back, one step at a time, as if the truth was pushing her away physically. Her eyes burned, not with anger, but with disappointment. Deep, piercing disappointment. "So you're saying he's been using you to get to us?" Nathan nodded slowly. "And I'm the reason he knows enough to drag Heartland into his mess. I'm the one who opened that door." His voice broke completely. "But I swear, Amy, I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to be part of this." Before Amy could respond, Jack approached them with a grim expression, the stranger following behind him. Jack had heard enough to understand the danger, both emotional and practical. Jack looked Nathan dead in the eyes. "Is that breeder still contacting you?" Nathan hesitated, then nodded. Jack's jaw tightened. "Then this isn't just about Amy anymore. This is a threat to the ranch." The stranger stepped forward, adding to the weight of the moment. "He's desperate. He's looking for someone to blame for his failures. And he thinks Heartland owes him something. If Nathan talks to him again, he'll push harder. He'll drag this place into something ugly." Amy felt a chill run through her. "So what does he want?" The stranger answered quietly. "Control, reputation, and a way to make himself look like the victim." For a moment, everyone fell silent. Nathan looked at Amy again, his voice barely audible. "I want to fix this, whatever it takes. If you want me gone, I'll go. But if there's a way to make this right, I want to help. I owe you that much." Amy stared at him, her heart a storm of conflict. Nathan had made a mistake, one that had the power to tear them apart, but he wasn't lying. Amy could feel that. He had been manipulated, used, and now he was trying to take responsibility. But forgiveness wasn't simple, not after everything she had already endured. Before she could answer, Lisa walked toward them, her expression steadier than before. Her painful reunion had hardened her resolve, not broken it. She stopped beside Amy and spoke gently. "Sometimes the past finds us, even when we've buried it. What matters is what we do next." Amy looked at Nathan again, The love wasn't gone, but it was wounded, fragile. She needed time, she needed clarity. She needed him to prove his loyalty wasn't just a promise, but a choice. "We're not done," she finally said softly, "but we're not okay either. You have to earn back the trust you lost." Nathan nodded, relief and sorrow mixing in his eyes. "I will, no matter what it takes." Jack turned to the stranger. "And you? You'd better start talking. If this breeder is coming after us, we need to know everything." The stranger sighed, realizing this was the moment he had been running from. "Then you'd better prepare yourselves, because the trouble he's bringing—" He paused, glancing at Amy and Nathan. "Won't just threaten Heartland. It's going to test every single one of you." Amy exhaled slowly, looking back at the barns, the fields, the home she had fought to protect for so long. A storm was coming, not just for the ranch, but for her heart. The reunion wasn't over. The conflict hadn't peaked.